Pokemon, get some on with me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend. In a world we must defend.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Dragon Guide. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is part 13 of What If Ash fully evolved all his Pokemon. Now, as our heroes arrive in Pallet Town, they part their ways with Gary, and for the convenience of Ash's mom, he still catches Mimey and gives it to her. And after resting at Ashes, when our heroes leave for Professor Oak's lab in the morning, they run into a random trainer called Raymond who challenges Ash, stating that if he wins, he will get Ash's Earth badge. Ash, even though the unfair stakes, accepts the challenge, and it's decided to be a 6-on-6 battle as Ash makes quick work of all of Raymond's Pokemon with just Pikachu and Charizard. And this is when, like the canon, he receives a random invite from a Dragon Knight to have all the trainers gather at Old Dwarf Town and sail to New Island for a grand Pokemon battling competition. Ash and gang are excited to see this and decide to take the strongest Pokemon for this upcoming battle competition, as Ash visits Oak to learn that the Pokemon League matches are a little over a month away from now. So Ash decides to head to New Island as a good means of training with the following team of 6 Pokemon, being Pikachu, Charizard, Wartortle, Ivysaur, Scyther, Kadabra. And Kadabra has managed to learn Psycho Cut and Psyshock while he was training with the likes of Scyther, Aerodactyl, Taurus, and meditating in his alone time. We also learn from Oak that most of Ash's Pokemon are always busy training, given they want to be in the best shape when they next see him, and Scyther always makes sure that every Pokemon trains a little every day. So our heroes, like the canon, end up at New Island and also are being followed by Mew and Team Rocket both. Mew is here sensing something weird. The events of the canon follow as the battles with the clones and the original Pokemon starts. All the Pokemons end up losing to their clones and end up getting caught in Mewtwo balls like the canon, only for Ash to eventually destroy the cloning machine and unleash all the clone Pokemon and destroying the Mewtwo balls, releasing Mewtwo's clone army. Now Ash's Charizard battles the clone Charizard, and after a very tough battle under Ash's instructions, as soon as Ash starts to see an opening, clone Charizard lands a strong Dragon Claw to defeat Charizard, and as Ash is rushing to Charizard to help him, a clone Venusaur, clone Blastoise, clone Alakazam, clone Scyther and a clone Pikachu surround Ash and Charizard, planning to attack them. Brock and Misty are unable to do anything because they are busy battling the clones of their Pokemon too. This is when all of Ash's Pokemon come out of their Pokeballs all at once, protecting Ash against each of their evolved counterparts, as Charizard also joins in to protect Ash getting up from the ground, as Ash commands all his Pokemon to battle their respective clones, fighting them in combinations and switching their positions, and they finally start to push back the clones a little, as Mewtwo notices this and is intrigued by this trainer and his Pokemon, giving so much for him. During this very battle, Ivysaur when battling Venusaur and Wartortle when battling the clone Blastoise are pushed to their extreme limits, so much so that giving up for them would mean Ash getting extremely hurt and maybe even losing his life. This leads to something extraordinarily happening as Wartortle and Ivysaur start to glow mid-battle, evolving into Blastoise and Venusaur respectively. A double evolution phenomena, as the two Pokemon evolve, surpassing their current levels of strength and making the 6-on-6 battle against the clones more equal when it comes to power, with new moves like Flash Cannon and Petal Blizzard. The 12 Pokemon, 6 clones and 6 of Ashes, end up knocking each other out. This turn of events shocks Mewtwo more, as to those Pokemon trained by this trainer managed to defeat his clones, but Ash on the other hand is deeply shocked by this chaos surrounding him. and starts breaking down as Mewtwo identifies this trainer as a problem to his plans and decides to attack Ash, only to be stopped by Mew. Like the canon, as the two legendary Pokemon then engage in battle. Ash, seeing this and being under insane amounts of emotional distress, decides to put an end to this chaos himself and asks Mew and Mewtwo to stop. But when the two of them do not listen to him, he jumps between the two Pokemon's attacks, causing him to turn to stone. As seeing all of this, Ash's weakened Pokemon let out huge cries. This leads to a beam of energies emitting from each of them, going as high as the clouds. Seeing their pain, a silence surrounds everyone and everywhere, as all the Pokemon start crying too, and soon enough there are so many lights reaching the sky as Mewtwo is shocked seeing this, and soon enough there is a weird light that falls onto Ash, as if all the feelings emitted by all the Pokemon have combined to fall on him, and to everyone's surprise, Ash recovers as his friends and all his Pokemon hug him crying, as he then goes on to tell Mewtwo that the world only exists for all humans and Pokemons to live together as friends, and that their bonds are what make the world special, that their bonds are what make humans and Pokemon really strong. It does not matter if a Pokemon is a clone. As long as the bond between a Pokemon and human remains, they will always be the strongest together. This moves Mewtwo, as even the clone Pokemon look at Mewtwo emotionally. Now, like the canon, Mewtwo accepts witnessing such a phenomenon and gains an understanding of the fact that, clone or original, the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what one does with life that determines one's destiny, as he decides to leave with all the clone Pokemon to find a place to live in peace, erasing the memory of everyone about the events on the island for that day. But Ash and his Pokemon, although lose the memory of Ash turning to rock, still remember all the events that happened that day, as Ho-Oh flies over the island with only Ash and his Pokemon witnessing it, as everyone else is unconscious and Mew and Mewtwo have left with the clones. Ash wakes up everyone as the next whole day goes by in traveling back to Pallet Town. Now, Ash returns to Pallet Town as Brock and Misty decide to head back to their respective gyms for 2-3 weeks, as there is still a month left for the Pokemon League. So Ash visits Professor Oak and learns about multiple Pokemon that are yet to be discovered from Oak, and meets all his Pokemon, as they all are happy to see him, but not one Pokemon. And that Pokemon is Aerodactyl, who has never met him apart from that one time. As Ash approaches him, Charizard looks at Aerodactyl skeptically. Aerodactyl is neither friendly nor disobedient. He just does not know Ash himself, but through his other Pokemon. Aerodactyl just does not know how to respond to Ash, so Ash offers to team up with him in a battle against Charizard, as Ash guides both the Pokemon in their battle against each other, as Aerodactyl is impressed with both Charizard's strength and Ash's strategies and skills, as he starts to become warm to Ash but still does not trust him. Ash also learns through some training battles that Beedrill, in a battle when just about to lose, displays his ability Swarm, which makes Ash really happy for Beedrill, as Oak then informs Ash about Gary arriving, and Ash wants to battle Gary, who decides Ash will have to wait till the league to battle him. Ash reluctantly agrees to this, as both of them meet their Pokemon that they have caught on their journey. As like the canon, Team Rocket tries to steal the Pokemon, but in our story they manage to capture Aerodactyl, as Ash uses Charizard to fly Ash to Aerodactyl's net and cut it himself personally, freeing Aerodactyl as Charizard deflated their Meowth balloon. Aerodactyl is moved by Ash's actions to save it himself by putting his life in danger, and catches a falling Ash, taking him to safety, as Ash and Aerodactyl team up with Charizard to send Team Rocket flying, as Ash then spends the rest of the day training with all his Pokemon one after the other, planning specific battle sequences for each of his Pokemon so they can improve and become stronger. Having witnessed Mewtwo and the clone's strength, Ash does not ever want to see his Pokemon in such bad shape in any future battles. Now, Ash has been constantly training for the last 3 days, and has seen exceptional improvements and growth in how all of his Pokemons are finally in sync with his battle style. He has learned in the last 3 days that Ivysaur's evolution has made him master the move Solar Beam as a Venusaur. Beedrill now knows Aerial Ace and Sludge Bomb taught by Pidgeot and Muk respectively, alongside older moves like Fury Attack and Fury Cutter. Primeape has learned the move Thrash. Aerodactyl knows Ancient Power, Crunch, Iron Head and Wing Attack. Nidorina is currently practicing a new move Double Kick with Primeape. Muk has learnt Hyper Beam from Primeape and learnt Gunk Shot on its own due to its training, and is also known to know Shadow Punch and Mud Shot. Scyther is focusing on learning Bug Buzz from Butterfree. Taurus on the other hand knows Zen Headbutt, Horn Attack, Wild Charge and Bulldoze. With completely aware of all of his Pokemon's movesets, Ash hears from his mom and Professor Oak that they are heading to Seafoam Island, and Ash has heard stories about how the legendary bird Articuno lives in the Seafoam Islands. Ash, excited, requests his mom and Professor Oak to let him join them on this journey. They agree, but tell him that it will take them at least the next 4-5 days for them to return. Ash agrees in the excitement as he goes on to choose Blastoise, Charizard, Aerodactyl, Pidgeot and Venusaur along with Pikachu for this journey, as he asks Scyther to train with others really hard, as they will need to be in really good shape for the Pokemon League in 3.5 weeks. As Ash leaves for Seafoam Islands, he arrives on the island and splits with his mom and Professor Oak, promising to meet them back at the port in 3 days. He enters the Seafoam Cave, and on the first day he has battles with the likes of Slowpoke, Horsey, Zubat, Krabi, Psyduck, and 2 trainers who are here to battle Articuno too, with all his Pokemon managing important victories against these 2 trainers. The second day goes by, Ash battles the likes of Golduck, Slowbro, Dewgong, Golbat, Kingler, Seadra on multiple occasions, and also encounters 4 trainers who Ash beats with some difficulties, and Venusaur and Pidgeot take a loss in few of those battles. He spends another night in a hope that next morning he will get a chance to, if not fight Articuno, then witness it, see it, as Ash spends the third day in search of the legendary bird, but only witnesses the same old Pokemon that he has been battling and seeing the last 2 days, and manages to save the wild Pokemon from Team Rocket by defeating them. And just when the evening strikes and Ash is about to leave the cave, he hears a weird noise and chases it. He ends up chasing it to the other end of the cave, and there it is, Articuno. As Ash sends out Charizard and Aerodactyl to battle the legendary bird, and both of Ash's Pokemon as a team with Ash's instructions are able to equal the legendary bird when it comes to speed and agility as a unit in the battle, as this is when Articuno's hidden ability Snow Cloak activates as a hailstorm strikes the area, and Articuno is dodging most of the attacks, as Ash further sends Pikachu into battle as Aerodactyl is defeated due to exhaustion and hit by a powerful ice beam, as Ash recalls it, and Charizard has managed to surprisingly catch Articuno's brave bird with its bare hands, and even though taking a lot of damage from it and landing a seismic toss in return, Charizard faints during this attack, as Ash then sends out Pidgeot to launch Wing Attack, as Articuno counters with the same, defeating Pidgeot in one go, but looking exhausted as Charizard managed to get back up into the battle, as Ash then calls for a flamethrower which lands and tries to throw a Pokeball at Articuno, which the legendary bird freezes midway, as it recovers quickly from its exhaustion and launches an ice beam, freezing Charizard's wings, Pikachu and Ash's feet to the ground as it manages to escape, as Ash gives up on his catch as he sees both Pikachu and Charizard clearly tired, as he tells Articuno that he will someday come back for him, being very fired up on encountering such a strong Pokemon, as Ash then heals up his Pokemon and rushes back to the port and tells his mom and Professor Oak all about his experience in the Seafoam Cave, as they all set sail back for Pallet Town, with Oak telling Ash to be one of the few lucky trainers to ever witness the legendary bird Articuno. Now, back in Pallet Town, Ash is greeted by the return of Brock and Misty, who, although amazed to hear Ash's story, are upset that they were not able to experience with him and meet Articuno. This is when Professor Oak comes in to tell Ash about a tag team competition being organized for trainers in Viridian City, and that the prize is said to be a pair of training machines for very strong Pokemon moves. As Ash is excited to hear this and thinking of this as a great training exercise for the Pokemon League, decides to go, as him and Brock decide to participate as a team, whereas Misty tells them that she will stay back at Oaks to research about Togepi and where he comes from. As Ash decides to pick a fresh team for his tag team competition, he decides to go with Pikachu, Kadabra, Nidorina, Beedrill, Taurus, and Primeape, as him and Brock travel to Viridian City. The next day, as our heroes arrive at Radiant City and register themselves in the competition, they learn that the prizes are the TM Dragonclaw and TM Stone Edge. Brock and Ash, utilizing various combinations in the first 3 rounds, win relatively easily, getting slightly overconfident. But then for the semifinals, faced off against Joe and Giselle, who have both now won 8 badges each. The battle against Joe and Giselle, though won by Ash and Brock, was a very close call, especially when they are made to realize that Giselle's Beedrill and Joe's Poliwrath nearly defeated them, and that their Graveler and Kadabra were still far from their maximum strengths. The final of the tag team tournament is scheduled for the next day, and Ash and Brock utilize the whole evening to determine a way to make their Pokemon stronger. And that's when they realize that both of them want to win the competition badly, and that all of their team combinations have been exhausted and witnessed by their competitors, who are now Gary and AJ, both of who know Ash and Brock well enough. As Brock then realizes Gary and AJ would never expect Ash and him to evolve their Pokemon a day prior to the finals, and Ash is confused hearing this, and then Brock explains how a trade and retrade with their Kadabra and Graveler will be an exceptional tactic to catch AJ and Gary off guard, since it would cause their Pokemon to evolve into Alakazam and Golem respectively. Ash is very excited about this idea, since he had witnessed the power gap between his Kadabra and the clone Alakazam from the battle against Mewtwo, and is in full support of this tactic, but suggests that him and Brock ask their Pokemons first for their opinions. Now, as they both decide to ask their Pokemon before going through with the process, Graveler and Kadabra agree and are excited to get stronger, as Ash and Brock perform the trade and retrade that evening with their Pokemon evolving. Alakazam and Golem look really strong and fresh, as Brock and Ash train with them the whole night, working out combination moves for the next afternoon. The finals of the tag team tournament start with the rules being the same, as the team of 2 Pokemon will be sent out by both the trainers, as one team won't win till both Pokemon of the other team faint. Gary sends out Blastoise as AJ sends out Beedrill. The battle starts as Ash and Brock send out Alakazam and Golem respectively. Gary and AJ start on an aggressive, having been surprised by Ash and Brock's evolved Pokemon. Gary calls for an Ice Beam on Golem, as AJ calls for a Beedrill to use Fury Cutter on Alakazam, but Ash and Brock look at each other and have both their Pokemon switch positions at the last moment, as Ash calls for Alakazam to use Psychic on Blastoise, tossing it in and around the ground after lifting it from a height, as Golem hits Beedrill with a smackdown, which is super effective. Ash then calls for a Psychic on Golem, as Alakazam uses Golem as a rock to constantly hit Blastoise and Beedrill. Golem to then use Hyper Beam at point blank range at Blastoise, who Gary asks to use Flash Cannon to counter but fails. AJ and Gary are feeling the heat, as they call for a combination of Water Pulse and Poison Sting, as Alakazam uses Teleport to make both Golem and himself dodge the attacks. Gary, frustrated, calls for an Ice Beam on Golem's feet, as Beedrill goes in to attack it, as Ash calls for a Psychic on Beedrill, which forces Beedrill being unable to get away from Golem, as Brock looks at Ash and calls for a Self-Destruct, knocking out both Golem and Beedrill, leaving a weakened Blastoise and a slightly tired Alakazam battle, as Blastoise launches another Ice Beam. Ash calls for Teleport, following followed up by a quick Psy Shock which leaves Blastoise on the edge of fainting as Gary calls for Flash Cannon. Ash calls for Psychic as Alakazam releases such a strong Psychic that Blastoise is hit with its own attack, getting knocked out, giving Ash one small yet first victory against Gary, who congratulates him but warns him that this isn't his full strength and that Ash will witness it at the Pokemon League. Brock and Ash see off Gary and AJ as Ash decides to keep the Dragonclaw TM and Brock the Stone Edge one, as Ash had let Brock choose first as our heroes return to Pallet Town for the next day. And that's it for part 13 of the What If series that we have currently going on. And I really wanted to thank you guys for your constant support, and I really wish and hope that you guys hit a like on this video and comment on it and share it with all your Pokemon friends. Now with that done, the new part will be coming out soon as we are coming into the finale of the series, season 1. That is the Indigo League finale is coming up shortly. We'll try to finish the series at 16 parts and then start with Orange Islands after that. So till then, peace out, Dragon Guide. Keep liking, subscribing, sharing the videos, and just let's try and hit 1300 subscribers soon enough, guys. We are at 1210. Until then, peace.